Yes, it was the first time that I have ever repeated a character in a movie. I hadn't done any sequels before. Maybe the closest thing to it was the fact that I did 2 movies with the parent and then the offspring. I worked with Larry Kasdan, and then I worked with Jake Kasdan, and I worked with David Lynch, and then I worked with Jennifer Lynch. So now I want them to have worked with me, and now they have to work with Lewis. That's my idea of a sequel. But I did enjoy playing the part again, because the character is almost a new one, and that 20 years ago, everyone thought of him as a leader and a warrior, and now 20 years later you realize the trauma that he experienced as a warrior wasn't obvious at first, but over the years became more and more apparent that he was suffering some of the effects of war. So when it begins, I'm in that condition, and in the course of the story you see a progression back. The one good quality that President Whitmore is now ex-president, so he has not been functioning as a leader, but his instincts are still there, and I think the whole thing about sometimes, as Shakespeare said, that there's a certain genius of lunatics, lovers, and poets. They have in there a little bit of crazy. There is a greater truth than what we normal people can see. And I think that Whitmore, in his craziness, actually sees the world more clearly than normal people, because he's saying the aliens are coming back. They don't believe him. He turns out to be right. When we did the first one, there was a lot of kind of complaints, especially I remember going to France and some of the festivals, the Deauville Festival, when it was first opening up. There were a lot of critics and people who thought, this is a stupid movie. It just tries to be fun for everybody, and it's the end of the world. Why is that fun? It's a popcorn movie. We are more sophisticated than this movie. And it turns out the audiences didn't mind having a little fun at the end of the world. So, and it opened up a kind of style of storytelling that I think then got replicated by other people. The difference between the youngsters and the oldsters, maybe their age. No, I think I was expecting it to be more of a difference than it ended up being, and I think Roland has a very good instinct for casting, I think, and maybe a little dangerous, because sometimes he'll prefer someone that he sees as a kind of a humanity in the person that he wants to be around for the length of the time that you're shooting. And whereas sometimes some other influences will say, you have to cast this person because he or she has a big hit, and it's going to help get those younger audiences if you cast that person. But he'll stick with someone that he has a strong connection to their humanity. So I think I was really struck by how, what good people they were. Liam, Micah, Jesse. They're very generous. They're not self-centered. And I'm not just saying that because they're in the movie and I have to be nice. I'm done shooting, I could be not nice. But no, they're good people. Yeah, in the second one, there was a difference in the technology, which was kind of, it's always, whenever you're dealing with novelty, I think the human being in you always is more intrigued by the new things, and the technology is now so new. We had done the first one with maybe 80% built sets and 20% CGI kind of things. Or if they were effects, they were done in very old school ways. This one was 85% CGI and about 15% maybe of built sets. So every day was going from your trailer in New Mexico across the very hot little tarmac into a big warehouse and just a big box in the desert. And inside, it's the largest soundstage in North America. It's 48,000 square feet, and it's covered blue ceiling, blue walls, blue ground. And it's quite amazing to walk into an empty space and begin to have these scenes that are taking place out in an airport or in a hangar or something. And suddenly, the new thing is that this feels almost like theater, because you only have the other actors coming at you. Maybe you'll have a Jeep drive up, or there'll be some little, something carrying weapons to someplace else. But for the most part, it's human beings walking up in costumes and talking to you in a kind of abstracted environment. And I thought that was quite interesting, and did feel in a way more intimate than when you're surrounded by the real thing. This way you're not really distracted by all the things around you. You can really focus in. So that, I think, was also was a big challenge. I was thinking about that when I watched the finished movie on Sunday, actually, because I thought science fiction didn't really exist as a genre when I was growing up. When I was 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, the movies that I went to in a matinee, that I went to kind of get the thrill of, and that were potent to me were World War II stories. John Wayne or those kind of Bridge Over the River Kwai, these American movies that were in the Pacific Campaign or in Europe, and that I think that Brazil is kind of like the world. There are so many different types, and so many different ethnicities have been helping to shape what it is, and that's why I was doing another movie when a lot of the other actors were doing the promotion, and I only got free about 2 weeks ago. So they asked me where would I be willing to do this publicity and how much I would be willing to do it. And I said, I would like to go to Brazil. And I was very glad that worked out, because I've always felt that there's something about this movie and Brazil. This is just me honestly saying that I felt like there's a way that Brazil understood the first one, gave it a great welcome, and I hope that the second one lives up to it and sustains it.